Hello, Konrad.
Hello, hello.
Right, today on our episode of Founders Podcast, we have Konrad, who is the co-founder of Aviato, a database platform. Is that right?
Correct, correct.
Very well. I am very excited to talk to you today. I have many questions. I have read through your LinkedIn. I know a little bit about your story. It's very inspiring, and I'm sure it's going to be very inspiring for our audience as well. Do you want to start with you just telling a little bit about yourself, what your company does, how did you get where you are?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited for the conversation. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
I'm the co-founder and CRO of Aviato. We're a global database company. How I got here, quite a interesting route, I guess you could say. Not a traditional one. If I were to summarize it quickly, out of college, I had my first startup idea. So that's kind of how I've entered into the workforce, and did that for a few years. Had a little exit at the end of it. Then went into corporate America for the first time, and tried to play that kind of ladder, understand how well-oiled machines really work, so that I could perhaps take that and apply it to my next startup, whenever that would be. And I realized that sales was something that I could really improve on. I didn't really know exactly what it was. I was pitching investors I'd never pitched. I thought it was going to be a fairly easy conversation. So I dove headfirst into sales. It was very uncomfortable. I was in environments where I was making several hundred calls a day, getting constant rejections and stuff. But I knew that's what I needed, so I dove into that. And then over time, found my way within the tech space, joining the likes of like Uber, Wix, at early stages of certain projects there, and then now found myself here back with my next company. So I think kind of an interesting path, but well equipped now to take those learnings from the initial startup, but also all of the corporate experience and startup experience in between, and apply it now to our rocket ship that's going to take off.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's amazing. That's just like Ramosi says, whenever you start a new business, it's always going to be quicker and quicker because you're going through the steps you went through already.
Yeah.
You know how to, you know where to put a correct person, you know how to solve a specific problem because you've been through it before. So yeah, 100%. Every time we start a new business, it just gets quicker and quicker in terms of development. Let me start questioning you, interviewing you
Let's do it.
with a bit of a humor. So you did mention just now about you working at Uber. So my question to you is going to be, what's the most ridiculous, memorable moment from your Uber era that still makes you laugh today?
Okay, so it's depends which way we want to take the question, because I was a Uber driver at one point, and I also worked at Uber at another point, so it's kind of a full circle moment. But perhaps the more entertaining side, or the more fun side to hear, is when I was driving for Lyft and Uber while I was building my first startup. I can specifically pinpoint this moment where I was so zoned in and so focused, and literally nothing mattered, like to an unhealthy point almost, but like it's kind of a common thing you see where
Yeah.
I was driving for Lyft and Uber between 5 a.m. to 10-ish a.m. Then I would work on the startup until about 5-6 p.m. And then I would drive again from 6 p.m. till 12 p.m. We raised money, but we put everything into the business. So this is how I was paying for food and such. So I remember this moment where I was between rides, and I just wanted to take a second to get some fresh air. And it had just rained, and there was puddles everywhere, but I stepped out to look at this nice view with the Golden Gate and whatever. And I saw in this puddle this little square object. I was like,
Okay.
and I immediately thought maybe that's a business card. Maybe that's someone that I can just contact. But
Okay.
and I pick it up, and it's a Plug and Play Ventures business card. Plug and Play is one of the iconic investors, eBay, Google, etc.
Yeah.
And long story short, I end up getting a pitch meeting with them. And but that particular moment just stands out so much because I don't think anyone that's not like crazy zoned in would think that to pick something up out of a puddle, a piece of trash. But everything was an opportunity for me. And seeing, like, having seen so many business cards, I knew the dimensions. I knew from far away that that's for sure. There's a maybe 25% chance that this person knows somebody. And that was a really cool moment. And I actually caught up with the guy that I ended up meeting with 15 years ago, probably like 4 months ago, and he remembered. So that was really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Honestly, that's a crazy story. It reminds me, it just keeps me thinking about one thing that people keep telling is that, like you just need to get lucky in business. It's all luck. You get lucky, you get lucky.
Yeah.
No, we were not get lucky. We were creating opportunities when people were seeing some trash in the mud and completely, stepping over it and walking away. Some other people pick it up and make a phone call.
Yeah.
So this is not luck. It's about your internal mindset and what actions you make, what situations you put yourself in, and what opportunities you create for yourself, of course. So yeah, 100%. That's amazing. That's very inspiring, actually. Do you ever thought about writing a book or something?
Yeah. I think.
Yeah?
Yes, there may be something that's been in the works for a while, but yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I feel like it's funny you say that because I feel like whenever these types of moments happen, any like challenges, struggles, and things like that, I'm like, those are the exact things that make a movie or a book better. It's like if everything went perfectly, it's like this is a boring movie. This sucks. But if someone goes through a hardship challenge, like gets knocked in the mud, gets back up, gets declined, then ends up getting this huge deal or whatever it is, that makes for a more interesting story. So I think I'm still in the process of collecting all of those. But eventually, perhaps.
That's interesting. Yeah, the reason I ask is because you have like this bit of a foundation. Obviously, I read through your LinkedIn, so I know a little bit more than people watching this right now. But there's a lot of things to come that we'll cover today, and I think you should eventually write a book. Maybe let yourself struggle for a little bit more, so it's more interesting. But yeah,
I appreciate it.
Okay, so we're not going far from your Uber era. What I read from your LinkedIn post is you were taping like a pitch sheet on the headrest, on the back of your headrest. Was it for the for the people you were lifting?
Yeah. So
Driving for, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I put so I just moved to San Francisco, and I knew I had to make some money somehow, and I started driving, and for that first week I realized just from hearing the conversations in the back that, hold on, a lot of these people are investors, a lot of these people are startup founders and like really impressive people. With some of them I could talk to them, but not everyone wanted to talk, so I thought like, why not make an easy way, like give them something to do while they're in the back of the car. So I made these pitch sheets that kind of said, like in a humorous way, kind of gave them a quick background of like who I am and what I'm doing. I mentioned I was raising money looking for app developers, and if they wanted to talk to me about the startup that I'm doing, like poke me on the shoulder and talk to me or look at the brochure, I put a bunch in the back of the car, and then on the piece of paper I made, like, maybe you remember, like on the back of, or like on the bottom of sheets, you can cut out these little strips, for example, and people can just pull them. So I made a bunch of those with my contact info, so people could just take it and hit me up, perhaps. Some people said stuff in the car, some people didn't, but almost always at the end of the day, those pitch sheets were gone. So someone would message me and I wouldn't even remember the conversation because they didn't say anything, but it was pretty effective. It was pretty cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, always the best genius marketing ideas are very simple. You just slap something where people, not expect things to be. Like, as soon as you make something that is new to the world, everybody pays attention to it.
Yeah.
And somebody's afraid, some other people do it and get the loot.
Yeah, exactly.
If you know what. when you were taping this on your back seat, were you thinking like, is this insane? What am I doing? Or were you just very confident, like, "Ah, that's completely fine. I know what I'm doing. This is just great marketing."
Initially, I was like, maybe I might get some pushback for this. We'll see. But I tried to not make it like too in your face, like too salesy,
Yeah.
and more so gave people an opportunity to not have to say anything if they don't want to. I would greet everyone, and if they wanted to continue the conversation, great, let's do it. If not, like, no big deal. Um, so, yeah, I guess to answer the question, no, I've kind of always done things in non-traditional ways. Like, there's so many, like, what I always think about is there's so many ways to get to X,
Absolutely.
like 2 + 2 is 4, but also 3 + 1, and 5 - 1, and there's so many different ways to get there. And I guess the typical way people think is like a 2 + 2, but I'm always like looking at like these other ways. So no, I wouldn't say like, I definitely was conscious that this is like abnormal and might annoy some people, but I feel like unless you're doing something impactful, you're going to annoy some people in the process, and that's fine. It's just a statistic.
Always, yeah. It's impossible to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
You have to make some sacrifices. You have to make these little decisions, and essentially follow your gut. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned, yeah, we were just speaking about the book. You mentioned the struggles and how it makes your life story more interesting. From here, I have a question. What was the lowest point in that grind, and what did you tell yourself to keep going?
Ooh.
Yeah, it's
Low,
a bit deep.
yeah, lowest point. In that specific grind, I would say there's definitely a moment where I remember like getting up to drive, and I had pulled up to the gas station to get at this point I was in a very like experimental of like energy mind frame. I was trying every type of coffee, every type of mate tea, every kind of energy drink. I literally at this point tried like if I would see a new can, I would try it. Just to keep
To see
myself
if it
going.
works better.
I'm sorry?
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I was just asking, like, if it's you were testing to see what works better.
Yeah, what
But you're
works
saying
better,
this-
but also like keep
yeah.
myself kind of entertained. Sometimes like this coffee would work, the other one wouldn't. But more so like I was driving every day. I wanted to like, something to look forward to in the perhaps like the monotonous moments.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I remember going in, and at that point I had tried every drink, but I saw this one, and I don't know why, it just like really sticks. It's like I have a clear memory of it in my brain, where it was this
Right.
Rockstar organic tropical energy drink. And I at that point I had tried everything else, all three of the fridges. I tried every beverage. But anyway, so I take that, I drink it. Again, probably not the healthiest of types of things I was doing, but that's at the phase I was at. And I go to take the first ride. And in that ride, I'm like, having a conversation, enjoying the drink. But then I'm like, kind of like starting to doze off a little bit. And after I complete the ride, I'm like, damn, I don't know if I can give another ride. This isn't going to be safe. I can't drive in like, because I don't know if the next ride's going to be 2 hours or 2 minutes. Like I have no idea, and I have to be fully alert. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just
Yeah, yeah.
let me just pull over and take a nap. And I'm in a Toyota Prius, and keep in mind I'm like a fairly tall guy, and I can't like I can't take a seat or a nap in the seat. It wouldn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
So I open the trunk and I just pass out in the back seat. But in that moment, I was still like struggling to sleep, and I'm like, man, like I just pulled over to take a nap. Like I'm exhausted. Like it was just a pure feeling of exhaustion. And at that point, I was playing in my head like those moments that everyone has, I think, where they're like, is this worth it? Oh, I shouldn't have, or I should have just got an entry level job, got a steady paycheck, got these benefits. I have friends that are moving into these nice places. I was living in a studio with my co-founder, mattress on the ground, eating peanut butter. And yeah, in that moment I was like, but you know what? Like if I went to this entry level job, I couldn't say that I just pitched plug and play ventures from a business card in the puddle. I couldn't say that I just met the co-founder of Tinder, Dropbox, and all these like dropped Mark Zuckerberg's assistant off at Facebook. I had all these crazy interactions that like people would have never probably encountered. And I was thinking, like, okay, if I was in a corporate role, I'd probably like do something very specific and it wouldn't be as adventurous. And now looking back, I'm like, yeah, although it sucked in those moments, like that's such a better story to tell versus like, yeah, I got this sweet entry level job and I went to the office each day and I faked that I was happy and I faked, all these things. And yeah, I think that was the moment.
That was the bottom. Yeah, I feel you because I feel like every entrepreneur just goes through this period where I mean somebody goes through it again and again where you just find yourself in a position when everything not going too well, not according to plan. You like "Ah, I should have just taken a good job. I would have been stable. I would not have all this like overdrafts, overdues, loans, stuff like this.
Yeah.
And I would be chill. I would be doing my job 9 to 5, no stress, no nothing. But then obviously, yeah, you just gotta keep pushing and tell yourself that this is the path you selected, and obviously high risk, high reward. You gotta work for it.
Totally.
So yeah, I definitely feel you. That's an amazing story. Thank you very much. I'm sure it's going to inspire many people because in our audience we do have a lot of younger entrepreneurs like myself who are just like not that deep into the entrepreneur thing. So I'm in the entrepreneurship only like 2 years, I think, 1.5.
Amazing.
So for me, all of like many things, even like this, I mean, I've been through things like this already, yeah, where I was like, oh my God, I should have just taken a job.
Yeah.
But obviously, like things like this will inspire and help me keep going, understanding that other people went through the same struggles, same difficult path, but they ended up very successful, which is obviously keeps you going, keeps you motivated. Right. Yeah, we got a little bit down from the comedy to deep stories, but I feel like this is something that people would want to hear. So regarding the entrepreneurship and just generally discipline mindset, you've written about showing up when you don't feel like it. Where did it come from? Like, where does that discipline actually appear from?
That's a great question. I think for me, that stems from sports and athletics. Soccer was a very big part of my life for the initial part. I wanted to play professionally, and I got through to the collegiate level in the U.S., which, if like comparing to Europe, it's like a lower tier professional, you could say. And those are I think through that where I would be sore, it would be raining, it would be snowing, we still had to show up to practice. And it didn't matter who you were. Like even how I think about it is like Ronaldo and Messi still have to go to practice each day. Like they're still training. Like, but even though they're the best, there's still room for improvement. But more so the mindset of like, instead of just when you see rain, that doesn't mean like, no, let's just not go to practice. It means, okay, let me get my rain jacket. Like it's solution first, like thinking. So I think that's what kind of carved it into my mind and where it stems from.
Absolutely. It's always, but still, even when you like sort of used to just saying yes to things and instead of using an excuse, you're looking for a solution, like, raincoat. Is it still hard to make this? Do you still have this like little you on your shoulders?
Yeah.
I mean, let's just stay home. Let's just lay down on the couch, just chill out, wait for the rain to be over.
Dude, especially in like a remote work environment, like my bed is right there, my fridge is right there. There's some ice cream in the fridge. Like that sounds nice. That sounds better than going through this whole legal document right now. Of course, I think I have to build some systems around it. Like for me, I have to like break up. I can't be in my place the entire week. Sometimes I'll have to go to a coffee shop, or maybe like I'll work from the dining room or something for like take a couple meetings there. I have to change it up, otherwise it gets a bit too comfortable. But yeah, that voice is 100% there, both of those. But I think over time, when you fight that voice enough, you still hear it, but like you're like, all right, whatever, dude. Like keep talking. I don't care.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, the longer you fight, the easier it becomes, obviously, to keep fighting it. But then it never goes away. It's always there.
Yeah.
It's getting quieter, but it's always there. No, fair enough. Yeah, I understand. I agree with that. And I completely agree with the remote working space. When you work from home, it's just so impossible, especially if you work in your room.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is even psychologically it's very hard for your brain to comprehend that the same room, which is made for rest, where you sleep, where you do whatever, I don't know, watch movies, whatever, is the same room where you have to grind out. And it's very confusing for the brain. And I think my solution, how I was fighting this, I wasn't obviously pushing myself to like break this kind of boundary inside of my head. I was just like, I'll just go to the cafe, I'll go to the workspace, I'll go to the living room. And obviously at first I was, but like I'm just more productive somewhere else. I used to smoke, for example. I quit smoking. I used to smoke for like 5 years, started quite early, and I quit smoking like half a year ago or something like this.
Nice.
So completely. And as any other addiction, as social media addiction, I used to have this one too. As with the smoking, as with the like not putting enough work in, instead of like trying to fight yourself and like, oh, be disciplined, be like this, just put it away, throw away the pack of six. Why do you want to put it on your table, look at this every morning and say, oh, how strong I am, I don't smoke, I can't smoke, it's right on the table. Just fucking throw it away. Don't think about this. Focus on something else. And this helps.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I also wanted to ask you, we'll get there. Let me just ask this one quickly. So do you think consistency is something you're born with or something you are meant to build under pressure?
Ooh, I think it's, for me at least, maybe for others differently, but I think mine was built under pressure, and learning through studying the world's like top performers. Depending on who I was wanting to be at that point, like when I was playing soccer and wanting to be a professional growing up, I was studying those guys and I was seeing that, oh, they're showing up to training. Oh, there's these pictures of them practicing in the rain, then going to the gym right after. So like, I wanted to be like that. I started to do that. And your example of cigarettes gives me a good, reminds me of like when I actually met one of these professionals and I saw that, and I had a conversation with him and he mentioned that he only drinks water. And at the time I was drinking like Coca-Cola. Like that was like popular growing up. And I was like, oh, okay, wow. So if I want to be professional, I can only drink water, just like this guy. And from a young age, thankfully, that moment inspired me enough to not, at least from the health side, to be very focused on that. But yeah, I think under pressure, it was more so built, and then seeing results of that compounding interest over time is what made it clear.
No, yeah, I agree. I don't think anyone is built with inside of you consistency. How can you be consistent where you just like when you don't want to be consistent?
Yeah.
It doesn't give you dopamine.
Yeah.
It's like we're not built for this. We kind of have to force our way to learn it. And thanks a lot to mainly our parents who raise us saying, go do, I don't know, homework, go study, go school, eat this, like forcing us into being more or less consistent. It can backfire with the child growing up and like being, now I'm free, now I'm gonna like fuck up myself. Like I'm gonna start eating junk food, I'm gonna start skipping. But not with everybody, it just depends on the self-awareness. I have heard many people say pressure is privilege. Have you heard this phrase?
Yeah, totally.
Pressure. What do you think about this?
I agree. In the moment, it doesn't feel like it. It sucks, but I feel like in those moments, when you zoom out afterwards, you realize that those are your biggest like periods of growth, because it forced you to think a different way. It forced you to act quick. It forced you to open up your mind to new solutions, or maybe like have to learn something very quickly on the fly. I don't know, maybe like, for example, if your tire gets flat and you're in the middle of nowhere, like, all right, figure out how to change the tire and put and there's many types of moments like this, I think, throughout people's careers, not just professionally, but in their personal lives. Something happens, you got to figure it out. But now all of a sudden I know how to change a tire. So if it happens to someone, like they can call me and I can tell them how, hey, by the way, it's really easy, relax, it'll be fine. I was freaking out, but like this ended up taking me 5 minutes. So I think it is privilege. It's just added experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree completely. I feel like pressure and struggles and this fear is what makes you push yourself forward, what develops you as a personality, your personal skills. And just pulling yourself out of the comfort zone is one of the best, one of the hardest, but one of the best things you can do to yourself, because this is the only way to grow. You will never grow in your comfort zone. I mean, I will speak for myself. Obviously, not at the rate that you can grow, being under pressure, being in this situation where you're on the bottom of the pit and you have to climb out of it. You don't have a choice. There's no one coming to save you, so you force yourself into learning your way out. And yeah.
Totally.
Amazing. Okay, I think we will stop here, stop asking questions about your personality, and I do want to ask a few questions about Aviato, about your company,
Sure.
How you got there. So, yeah, take me to the beginning. What was happening in your world when Aviato became a real idea? How did this started? What been going through your mind? Stuff like this.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I happened to be at the time at a company called Rocketreach, which is to a degree a competitor.
I think I heard it.
Yeah, similar to probably for the audience, maybe they've heard of like an Apollo or a Zoom Info, these types of places or these types of tools. Rocketreach definitely one of the leaders within that space. But yeah, so at the time I was at Rocketreach, but I think it would be important to paint a little context even before that, because it kind of all aligns very well. Where before that I mentioned startups like Wix and Uber, where in those times, like at Uber, we were launching Uber Eats. And so we needed to figure out how do we get the contact information of these restaurant owners, of these restaurant brands at corporate and things like this. So I had to start making data decisions and figuring this out for that role, which opened my eyes to the data world initially. And we had made some significant mistakes at that point. We bought data sets that were very stale. And therefore I started to, stale meaning inaccurate basically. And I started having to explore data sets myself. So with my own money, I actually started paying for data tools. And Rocketreach was one of those that I paid for, and I was like, you know what, I'm getting good results with Rocketreach. So I was paying for it myself for the company. The company wasn't expensing it way before I even worked there. And then copy paste, similar situation at Wix and other places. But nevertheless, I was at Rocketreach, and through some mutual connections, mutual investor friends, got introduced to a friend that was putting Aviato together, or an individual is putting Aviato together. And we had a conversation over the course of a couple months. We got to know each other a bit. And at the time he had started putting the tool together. And it just made sense for us to partner up. Like, I knew the ins and outs of data. I had to make these data decisions that would really impact organizations. And I knew how to sell it, to present it, and such, given that I'm at that time was currently at a provider. So initially we came together. It started as one concept. First it was a web app, and then it shifted to just APIs and flat files. But I guess kind of like poached and found in the perfect opportunity by chance.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I know many people before starting their own business, they go through the process themselves, just working for somebody else. So in your case, it was you worked for Rocketreach, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Did I get it correctly? Right. And then, makes sense. For example, I mentioned to you off camera that I was working for a company called Clickbird. We were doing lead generation, and the CEO and founder of the company used to work for Science. If you know, they're quite big, one of the biggest email marketing companies in the whole world.
Yeah.
So he used to work for Science. He just learned how they do things, and he's like, why wouldn't I just set up my own company?
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes total sense.
Exactly.
Actually, I had a question. You answered it slightly, but I wanted to ask, what's the difference between your first version of how the Aviato looked like at the very beginning compared to how it looks like now?
Yeah, so when it started, it was more so a data platform specific to venture capitalists and investors and such. We had very one of our main focuses was the refresh rate. Refresh rate means basically one person's profile can appear one way today, but tomorrow they could change a job and it's different. And unless you're refreshing it, you're not catching those changes. So a refresh rate really leads to the accuracy. And so that's why investors like to come to us. And so we built the platform for them. But over time, we started getting introduced to their portfolio companies. And we found quite big opportunities in there. But we realized that they were asking if we had APIs or if we provided flat files. And so we'd give them the API key, and that was it. They were happy. And it was like, whoa, hold on, that was amazing. Whereas when we had the platform, the challenge is we have the data, but how do we design the filters and the tools and the layout of the design in a way that makes it easy for people to find what they're looking for? Whereas if the person is slightly technical, we just give them the keys to the car per se, and if they know how to drive it, then they're enjoying it. Then they can come back and ask something about the engine, and we can tell them. But so that's how the platform changed. It was first a web app, and then we just started focusing on APIs and flat files. Soon to launch, though, a self-serve version, which is exciting.
Okay. That's interesting, yeah, because normally it's other way around, no? Like people normally start with just API and file spreadsheets, and then go to the web app. So do you still have it as a web app, or
no? It's just
how does that work?
No, we took out the web app, and so we just focus on the APIs and flat files. But we're going to be coming back to a self-serve version where people can have an interactive interface, kind of like a ChatGPT style way to communicate with the database. So there's a bar that you can ask any questions, like find me founders in Miami, Florida that have at least 5 years experience and went to these universities, for example.
That's nice.
So it's an interactive way to talk to the data.
Interesting. And how deep does it go? So you can ask any kind of specific questions about your prospect. So, for example, as you mentioned, what kind of universities they went to, 5 years of experience. Can we say, like, when was the last time they updated their website, for example?
Ooh, interesting. Not quite to that level, but perhaps some things can be inferred when they started the business. Perhaps like it can be inferred that shortly after they put a website together, or is there a website linked to their business pages per se? So there's ways of finding certain information by combining different data points. So the exact data point might not always be there, but certain things can be inferred with very high likelihood. So one thing we do actually, which is really cool that other providers aren't quite doing, is this prediction data. So what happens when you can start to add data points to predict a future outcome? So this really started, and I'm surprised it hasn't been really like focused on by other data providers, but not to talk or not to like bring a sad incident into the conversation, but for an example's sake, the 9/11 tragedy that happened in New York. Prior to that, there's a lot of data privacy and security rules. So it was very hard to gather a lot of data because people didn't want to expose their information naturally. But after that incident happened, there was a couple data providers that realized they actually could have predicted the criminals that did that hijacking. 10 out of 15, it was about 10 out of 15 of them or so, using their data. And they found some very interesting things, like if people share an address more than once, you can infer a relationship. Makes sense, right? Okay. If people are sharing an address, if people open up a credit card within a week and spend 100,000 and have those shared addresses, usually there's some kind of criminal-like activity going on. So that really opened up my eyes and our eyes to where the missing piece of data right now. In most cases, people would just go to a data platform and say, hey, I want these people, or I want this person's contact information. But why not like combine some data points and like tell a story and figure out where they're going to be before they're even there? And that's where I think it gets really interesting.
That makes a lot of sense. I never heard of this. Interesting. Okay, yeah. The reason I'm so particularly interested and ask such a specific example too is because we obviously work with databases daily, right? Even right now, and we used to be web development first agency, so we were focusing on the websites first. So we were looking for some kind of data provider that can give us like this specific numbers or the specific data points. Yeah, just very interesting. We should definitely talk about just generally the platform and everything. Podcast because the many things you mentioned I haven't heard of compared to. Actually, good question. What's your main differences with your competitors? Why are you better?
Yeah, I would say. If I were to simply put it, it's coverage and refresh rate. There's, of course, the intelligence component that I mentioned of how we're combining data points to predict things that people are doing before they actually happen. Many people call them signals, but that's already been acted on. What about before they act? But yeah, if I were to boil it down to two primary things, it's the coverage, meaning the amount of people that we have access to search from. For perspective, that's over 1.2 billion people. In many cases, people have like a few hundreds of millions. And the refresh rate is we can do daily. And in most cases, people do quarterly refresh rate. So not that there's anything bad with quarterly, but if you need the most up-to-date ideas or as soon as someone leaves a role to catch that candidate, that's where we really stand out.
Yeah, I do slightly disagree with you when you mentioned that there's nothing too bad in updating quarterly. There is, because there's many layers to it. So for example, does refresh rate affect emails as well? So you obviously
100%.
Refresh valid emails.
Yeah.
Of course. And this goes much deeper. As you mentioned, there's things like titles, and people are not going to be waiting 3 months to receive a job opportunity if like we're talking about headhunters. So this is definitely working. In the email marketing, it's very, very important because right now, especially people changed their policies, and the validity of the emails is the main factor that determines your deliverability score. And your deliverability score is an ultimate success metric, because if your emails don't get delivered, if they get into spam, it doesn't matter how good your copy is, it doesn't matter how good your list is, nobody's going to see it. So this is very important. This is like the basics. Warming up emails doesn't work anymore. And the most important thing is the quality and validity of the data. For me, for example, refresh rate is one of the biggest pain points, because we keep doing email marketing for people. And another thing is that you mentioned that you have a wide audience, and this is very important as well, because what we keep running into, we have too little database for the specific filters we have entered on other platforms. And this solves this problem as well. So this is huge. I think refresh rate, and you said daily, is amazing. I think this is one of the core factors.
Yeah.
100%. Very cool. Okay, yeah, let's move on. And what should I ask you next? I'm just thinking there is some questions we kind of touched. I don't want to go over them again, to be honest with you.
Sure.
Okay, how about this one? What was the first signal, or when was this moment when you realized this is actually working? We're not imagining this. We're actually building a business, and business is going to be successful.
Yeah.
Like, what was this reach point when you're like, yes?
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, these are amazing moments. There's definitely a few. I think it came like in stages. So different, because anyone can have like a one-off type of situation, but can you have these types of things consistently to really show that, like, okay, now the train is starting to catch some speed. The first, I think, was when we were starting to get compared to many different data providers, but specifically Rocketreach, because that's where I came from, and they're of course like. I'm still friends with many of the teams, so this isn't to talk poorly, but particularly them, because they've been around for such a long time. They're one of the pioneers of the data industry, and we started to consistently beat them in certain aspects. And for me inside, I was like, yes, like, this is sick. Because we had just been around for a short period of time at that point. So it's like, hold on, we actually have something. Like, they've been around
Works with
forever.
that.
So like, hold on, like let's figure this out. So that was one particular. I mean, this happens consistently in conversations with prospects and such when they're comparing us, and in the testing, the results kind of speak for themselves. So that's one particular moment. I guess also zooming out, there's looking back at our I guess sales style through how we sell. It's also an indicator. What do I mean by that? Like, most people are very like pushy and such, which of course there's an art to selling and everything like that, and creating urgency and all of this. We don't really have a, like, I mean, we're relatively like, we're competing against public companies, and we're one of the newer guys on the block per se. So some others that we're getting compared to have a very extremely well established brand, whereas we're still getting our way out there. So how do we mitigate that? How do we bypass that? Well, we would allow people, we'd be so open. This only works if you have a product that you truly, truly believe in and know that it's very good. At that point, you don't have to sell. You just tell a story and you give people access and let them try it. And then it all, like, everything happens in the testing or in the evaluation part. Whereas most providers, they'll kind of create a very controlled testing environment. They'll be like, you can only try 100 credits, or send me a list and I'll fix them, or I'll enrich them, and then they'll enrich them on their end. Then they'll grab 5 other data providers, fill in the rest of the list, and then give it back. People don't know what's happening. So myself knowing this, like, I knew that I could only be a part of something that I truly, truly believed in. And so honestly, it might sound crazy, but I feel like I don't even sell that much anymore, where I'm just like, this is what it is. This is the story. Here it is. Try it. Like, if like I'm that confident, like, if there's something that genuinely is not, at par, then that's something that we need to improve on. Then we're going to go to work on that.
Absolutely.
So I think through that also, it's been like constant validation of all we need to do is just get them to test, and then the rest handles itself.
Yeah. 100%. No, I agree. It's absolutely impossible to sell something you don't believe in.
Yeah.
It's like, it's impossible, at least for me, if I wouldn't be believing in my product, if I wouldn't know it works and like I tested it, I wouldn't be like so confident saying like, oh yeah, it's going to bring you a result. I would be like, yeah, that's a very interesting new way of doing things. Nobody would believe me. Like, everybody would look at me like, yeah, sure, because when you know that this thing works, you treat it like a fact, like universal truth in a way. And for you, when you come with this approach, it's just like it's like explaining to a person that the circle is round. You're like, well, this is just how it works.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not about selling. It's just like, this is the fact. It's just about, do you want a circle or no?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So yeah, 100%. And I feel like it's impossible. It's impossible to sell something you don't personally believe in.
I've done it.
And
I've done that, and I think through that experience, so after the first startup, the first sales job I got into, because I just heard you can make a lot of money, and I was I didn't want to just like sit and wait for the next opportunity. I wanted to get into something and get better at something. So I started doing pharmaceutical sales, which I only did it for about a year because I learned the deeper, and I saw firsthand some of the, without getting too political, the corruption aspects of it, and it's not ethical.
I know.
Didn't
the same opinion,
didn't sit well with me. But nevertheless, like, I have no experience with pharmacy. I had no experience with these medicines and medications that we were selling. I could barely pronounce some of their names, and all that there was to sell on was price. That's it. And like, I didn't know if this was better, if this was worse. I just knew that this person can make more money on it. Let me try to beat them on price. And so I couldn't you could hear my voice. It wasn't very confident. It was just like, if I can beat that price, then it's like, great. Then that was maybe the slight bit of confidence. And I learned the opposite actually at Uber, where at the time Uber Eats was very like, I joined when we were launching and creating it. It was a new player to the delivery block. Grubhub, and at least in the US, Grubhub and DoorDash were already like fairly established brands. But believing in, I had Uber before I joined Uber. I had Uber Eats as I was joining, and like at that point, that was the first time I really learned that, like, wow, this, I don't have to sell it. Like, I realized, I caught myself, like, we were in the sales team working on these pitch lines and things like that. This is how you rebuttal. But when I would zoom out, I would look at the calls that worked the best, and I was like, I was just telling a story. I didn't even sell anything. I was like, hey man, like, I'm sure those platforms are great, but the cool thing is everyone has Uber on their phone. Everyone doesn't have DoorDash and Grubhub. So think about the access that Uber Eats has to all these people. Like, when I was going from the airport to my hotel last night, I got an advertisement for Uber Eats. I don't even have the Uber Eats app. And and then it opened people's minds. So all to say, like, I think I feel it more because I experienced selling things I didn't believe in before, and I hated it.
100%. Yeah. Now thinking about this, I did have similar experience back in this company when we were selling overpriced lead generation systems that didn't really generate leads. Email marketing and my sales were horrible. Like, when I believed in it, they used to be good, but then I was like, I just kept seeing the result, and like every new sales call, I was like, well, this will work, like, I need cash. Like, you know, it's hard to sell. You don't like, man, this works. I'm telling you, I tested it. It's amazing. You put your soul into it. No, you just like, please pay me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not even sure. Yeah, I feel you 100%.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. Unfortunately, we're running a little bit low on time. I'll give you a few more questions and then I'll let you go. I know you're a busy guy.
All good.
So let's talk a little bit more about Aviato. Finish up with one question for you personally, and then we can wrap it up. If I gave you 60 seconds to pitch Aviato to a founder who's never heard of it, what would you say?
Ooh, okay, great question. Not having any context on who the person is or anything like that, I would say Aviato is a global people and company database. We're the biggest people and company database in the world that refreshes the fastest in the world. And what does that mean? It means that you get to connect with the world faster and instantly, quicker than any other place. And if you're someone that's building a tool that requires the most fresh and readily accessible data, Aviato is a great place to build upon in terms of a foundation. Or if you're making decisions based on people or company data specifically, how a company is moving, how people are moving, Aviato is definitely a place to at least try. I know when I say try, it's very like, no big deal. I'm not trying to sell them too hard. And then as soon as they try it, it's like fish on the hook.
Yeah, just try. And I agree. Honestly, I can't wait to try. I'm the person who directly in the need of this service.
Yeah, of course,
considering
man.
what we discussed, I feel like it's going to be like on point.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely get back to this conversation. Let's just use the time we have left. So let me give you two more. Let's go like this. What's been harder for you? Getting attention, getting trust, or getting people to switch from what they already use while selling or pitching Aviato?
Ooh. I would say trust kind of encapsulates all of those in a way. And I think that's the hardest part for sure, because we're not a public company like some of the competitors. We don't have thousands of people working with us. And so I'd say that's like the challenge, is earning that trust. How I bypass that is by giving people such easy access to just try it. That's how I tend to earn the trust, perhaps with some social presence. But yeah, I would say that's the biggest thing.
So the trust right now you're struggling with the most?
I wouldn't say struggling with when we're presented the opportunity. I would say the continuous, because our brand isn't as big perhaps as some of these massive giants that have been in the field. And when we're going against that, just like I would, it's pretty hard to think, oh, this company that's been around for a few years versus this one that's been around for 20 years, why are they better? But it's starting to shift through the help of a lot of, our brand is starting to have a network effect, which is good. But in the initial years, I would say like that's very challenging, and you don't see the ROI of that.
Yeah.
like for things like wearing a hat, like what is that going to do? But then it's familiarity with the brand, seeing it
Totally
in
do.
this place, seeing it in this place, people talking about it. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. It's one of the biggest problems for most businesses, just trust. It's just when you're new on the market, especially people don't know you. Like there's 95% of the businesses fail in the first, what, 5 years or something? Why should I try? Why,
yeah,
how do I know you won't fail? How do I know you have actually a good, trusted, tested business model when I can just go for Apollo, which has been there on the market for
exactly,
ages, and like who I know work? Like it's always a hard, difficult thing of trust. Even though you're better, people just don't know this.
exactly.
So yeah, I definitely get it. Okay, and to wrap up, if we do this again, the podcast, 12 months from now, what would need to be true for you to say we really won? Like you really got successful with Aviato.
Ooh, wow, nice question.
What's the
Um,
milestones?
ooh, I mean, there's some revenue ones for sure. There's
Absolutely.
but I would say, so it's something that's already started to happen, but I think much more like emphasized in the way that it's been happening. So there's these tools like Clay and Freckle and such, where
Yeah, I know.
yeah, so perhaps for the audience, they take a lot of different data providers and give you access to all of them at once instead of having to choose one. It's a pretty, it seems like a straightforward pitch. Why choose one when you can have access to all? And conceptually, that seems to make total sense. But one thing we've started to experience, which I think would be that moment in a year, is
Yep.
more of these experiences to a point where we have to have a talk with some of these platforms because we're making the others look poor. Where, in an example on these tools, you, for those that aren't familiar, you upload, let's say, an Excel spreadsheet that you want to enrich with some data points, and each row you might have certain things you want to enrich, and at the end of that row it'll show which data provider those data points came from, and usually you get a mix of data providers. One will say Apollo, ZoomInfo, Aviato, People Data Labs, etc., etc. In many cases, not in every, but in many cases
Yep.
already, it's Aviato, 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 Aviato. And it's like, whoa, that's cool. That's totally against this whole model of like, what does it do? It kind of proves to the greater network that, and it might sound cocky, but if you take our 5 greatest competitors, perhaps like close to 10, and you stack up their coverage, there's going to be some overlap. The delta between each of them might be 10 million, 20 million here. We're still greater and better and faster refresh than all of those combined, if they even all acquired each other and combined. And that's like, and internally we know this, but like this is a way that it's being shown to everyone. And it's really freaking cool. And we're starting to see signs of this. And people are coming to us being like, dude, I was having a tough time choosing between different providers, but then like, I thought I'd find a common point amongst this enriched sheet, but like there was a very obvious choice amongst this sheet. So I think if we can have significantly more of those to where we cause a kind of a problem in the market, where we don't give other people visibility, I think that would feel really good internally, because of course you're confident and you believe in what you're doing, but that's a public way that we don't really have control over, in that sense, that people can see for themselves. And that would feel really good for me.
Absolutely, yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think this is the USP you should take as your lead USP and like write it,
Yeah.
because this is amazing. Because I'm a person who understands how valuable this is, and I know this is definitely like it breaks the competition.
Yeah.
Because obviously you want always the freshest relevant data, or most of your email is going to be outdated. Unlike most of your points of contact is going to be relevant. And this is I think you should put it out more to the people, and maybe do some
Agreed.
content that explains why this is so important.
You're right. Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, that's amazing. I know you need to run. Thank you very much for this podcast. It was big pleasure meeting you and speaking with you.
Likewise, man.
I'm sure thank you. I'm sure audience will find many interesting and inspiring stories from what you said today. And yeah, please come again. Let's meet again in, I don't know, in some time, and let's see where you at.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it in person if we can. That'd be cool to meet up, man.
Absolutely. We do in-person podcasts as well. It's just difficult when you see I'm
No, of course.
from Miami.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Awesome show. Great questions. Really enjoyed myself.
No worries. Yeah.